some experts explode online while others who are equally qualified just stay invisible. Today we're going to be talking about Dr. Becky Kennedy. She's a clinical psychologist who was once unknown outside of her one-to-one practice, but is now known by many people as the Millennial Parenting Whisperer. Today she has over 3 million Instagram followers, a New York Times best-selling book, a top charting podcast, and just the respect and admiration of many people, has been a guest on multiple popular podcasts, and is just the go-to person for millennials for parenting advice. So it's clear that she's built something that most experts dream of, a trusted brand that transcends her one-to-one practice and something that can give her job security and extra income. But just 4 to 5 years ago, none of that existed. So in this video, we're going to just take a brief look at her story to see what happened. And then I'm going to break down the 7 key things I think she did and continues to do that makes her such a smashing success. So back in early 2020, Dr. Becky Kennedy was already a successful Manhattan clinical psychologist. Her practice was at capacity. However, in February of that year, at the urging of her sister, she started an Instagram account, and she had never really been on social media until this time. And the reason why she started an Instagram account was to promote a product called the Sleep Button. It's basically a product that would help children sleep by playing a recorded message of their parents. And it was something she used on her own daughter and thought that maybe it's something that could help other children and other parents around the world. So when she started this account, she was very consistent. She talked about waking up every morning at 4:45 a.m. and just writing content that she could post for Instagram. She got up to about 200 followers in those first few weeks, and a lot of her posts were mostly about the product. However, in March 2020, right around the time when everything was getting canceled because of COVID, school was getting shut down because of COVID, she made a post. And that post basically said something along the lines of, young children are going to remember this time based on how their home felt, based on what was going on with their families. So she said, let's wire our kids for resilience, not panic. And that post went viral. And by summer's time, she had already gained thousands more followers. Many people really resonated with what she was saying and shared it with others, and so she got a lot of momentum that way. So much so that just the next month in April, she actually used that momentum and launched her podcast called Good Inside with Dr. Becky. And again, she had gained so much momentum that when she launched it, it quickly became #1 on Apple Podcasts parenting and family charts. In the podcast, she offered practical advice, scripts, and answered listener questions. And this was her way to just really deepen her relationship with the audience that she was already building. Whereas in Instagram, everything was just bite-sized. Around mid to late 20s, she expanded this venture. She wanted to help more people. So she started offering workshops around parenting, around, sibling conflicts, rivalry, tantrums, especially, and just how to repair the parent-child relationship after conflicts. And it was a smashing success. Time magazine estimated that just from her workshops alone that year, she must have made about $2 million, almost $2 million, based on the pricing and how much she was giving out. And she didn't let the momentum stop. Just a little over a year later, in the spring of 2022, she launched an online platform where she could serve even more parents. And now this platform, the Good Inside membership, serves parents in over 100 countries, and it offers them daily advice, a library of resources, and workshops that they can watch at their convenience to just help them continue to be good, resilient parents, or she calls it sturdy leadership. And then in September 2022, she published her book, Good Inside, which eventually became a New York Times best-selling book. And now she has one other children's book published and another one on the way as of recording of this video. And just throughout this whole time, to continue to build up her momentum, she started publishing a weekly newsletter. Again, she still has her podcast and she's still doing her workshops. She's still posting very regularly on Instagram and all of the big podcasts. She's been a guest on Tim Ferriss's show, Tim Robbins, Lewis Howes, Kristen Bell, just kind of like the celebrity parenting psychologist. And it's funny because she never actually was trained or worked with children, but she works with adults and healing them. And that's what her whole practice is around. And so she's really able to reach a lot of people and serve a lot of parents. So what exactly is it about her that makes her stand out? And I think we see a lot of that from her story, but let's go ahead and dive in and break down the 7 things I think are key to her success. So number 1, it was her timing, of course, right? She came at a time when there were these anxious parents trapped in their homes with their children and just wanted to make sure that everything would be okay. And she came in as that comforting voice to first let parents know that they're good enough, they're doing well, and also to teach them something different from how they were raised. And so she just really came in at the right time. But I think what really makes her stick even to this day, even though like the pandemic is pretty much over, is just her sincerity with it, right? Like that's number 2, I think. She's just really relatable and really sincere and passionate about this subject. She didn't necessarily come on to make money. I'm sure there's some business savviness there with her. Again, she went on Instagram to promote like the sleep button, but her practice was already really successful. I don't know that she went out intentionally to create this giant empire of like parenting advice, but she was really sincere. And I remember actually watching a clip of her talking about like she just had to put all of her thoughts somewhere, and that was Instagram at first, and she felt like she needed to share a lot of the things she was processing, and she really showed up to help people. She knew that people were suffering and she wanted to help these parents, and she really saw herself, right? Because she herself was a mom of 3 or is a mom of 3 at that time and just wanted to share her experience. So she has a lot of passion there, and then she's got her expertise as a clinical psychologist. Even though she wasn't working with children, she was working with adults and healing them from whatever trauma they were experiencing from childhood. And then I think another thing that's key is she has this amazing origin story that kind of shows her vulnerability that, again, other people could relate to. Because at first she talks about this story of her transformation where she used to be, from her training, a clinical psychologist who promoted things like rewards and consequences, timeouts, things like that. And then she stopped. There was a time where she was in a session with a teenager who was saying like, okay, like you can't just chart my behavior away and you can't physically move me into timeout. Like you don't understand me. And that kind of woke her up that moment. And she said she looked at just like the whole system, and she realized it didn't feel good for kids and it didn't feel good for her or the parents that she was trying to help. So maybe this isn't the right way. And so I think a lot of people resonate with that. A lot of parents resonate with that, where they didn't feel good like punishing their kids. And so she really took some time to think it through and come up with a better way and to really figure out what are these feelings. That's what her whole thing is about. It's called Good Inside, right? The kids are good inside. You're good inside. And she really emphasizes that and separates feelings from consequences. So in addition to her timing, her vulnerable origin story, and her relatability, number 4, I think what's really great about this is like she rode the wave because she was consistent. She had consistency. Again, every morning she woke up at 4:45 a.m. to write content for Instagram, and she would find time like in the middle of seeing clients. She just could see a lot of her early Instagram posts. She's not like made up or anything. She was just posting because what she cared about was recording her thoughts and helping other parents out there who could maybe use that help that would resonate with what she was saying. And she would just record. She'd just hit record and she'd do it no matter what she looked like and where she was. Again, like if it's in her office or she has her iPhone propped up against her apartment wall, you can tell all of that. And she's never like super made up. And she just went and did it and was consistent. And that helped her continue to have momentum, right? And a lot of things that people also said about her is that she gave bite-sized advice. There were already a lot of experts in this particular niche when Dr. Becky Kennedy came into the scene. Some of the ones that Time Magazine had mentioned was Janet Lansbury, Daniel Siegel, Adele Faber. I'm not really sure who all these people are, right? But I know who Dr. Becky Kennedy is. But some testimonials from parents said that all those other things or all those other Instagram accounts, all those experts, it felt like they were giving more work. Whereas Dr. Becky Kennedy, it's bite-sized, she has useful scripts, and then she tells exactly like, this is what this would look like if I were to practice this in my real life with my kids. So she's giving them something concrete, something bite-sized, in addition to being consistent with that. So I guess I'm wrapping those two things together, right? Like the consistency and the bite-sizedness. I guess that could be 5 and 6. So maybe I have 8 for you today. Okay, so number 7, then, I think she had this contrarian approach. Like what made her content so captivating was because she was saying something that not a lot of people were saying a lot. Or a lot of these millennial parents, they grew up with a different type of parenting style. And Dr. Becky Kennedy was offering something different. It wasn't just about the outward rewards and consequences, but she's talking about what's really happening inside and what those feelings mean and how two things can be true rather than like some, strict dichotomy, black and white. It's either this or that. She was really like opening up the perspective and the minds of parents. And I think just that is really catchy, right? And then on top of that is she has just this cohesion of message and all of it. Like she has this compass core message that she is trying to communicate, like the good inside. And then she came up with some catchy, repeatable phrases, again, bite-sized, right? Like sturdy leadership that she can continue to unpack. And it's all just the same thing, consistent with what she's been saying this whole time, so people can easily understand it. She doesn't talk like clinical psychologists speak. She's just making it easy to understand. And she's constantly repeating the same message, but just like maybe in different details or more details, but it's always consistently the same message. So then I think that's number 7/8. I lost count. I'm sorry. I kind of mixed some things up there, but that's the nice little bow that wraps it all together. I think is that she really leaned into her core belief. That's what drives her. It's like her purpose, right? That we are all good inside. That core message that she keeps repeating. She has a core belief that it's her mission, it's her purpose to share with the world because she thinks that it will help the world, that it will help a lot of people. And I think that is key for experts, right? It to be as explosive, I guess, or captivating as she is, because you can tell she's there to help people, that she has a purpose. And it's that core belief, that core message that's driving her to be consistent, to desire to reach more people. And it's not just about money. Again, like her practice remained at full capacity. And I think that was like her bottleneck, right? Like she wanted to help more people, but she couldn't because her practice only allowed her to help one-on-one. So now with the Good Inside podcast, with the membership, with the books, she's able to help so many more. And she's just really passionate about this belief and spreading it that people are good inside. And so what's the takeaway? Though we can't all have like that perfect timing, there's not going to be, or hopefully there's not going to be like another pandemic, or maybe we're in a different niche. I think some of the core things I'm going to try to practice, at least for me, is just that consistency and really figuring me out? Like, why am I even doing this, right? What's the purpose? What is it that I want to help people with? And I think that's what's going to help drive the consistency the way it has driven Dr. Becky Kennedy. And I think developing a core belief or fleshing out that core belief and then developing that into a repeatable message that can be broken down into bite-sized pieces of content, or at least like relatable content, is really useful in just helping us get started. So I hope this has been helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more in the future. Thank you. Have a great day.